recorded live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to FinancialFreedomRadio.com. We also have .info. If you're an avid listener to our show, we used to say FinancialFreedomRadio.info, not .com. But now we have the .com, which was amazing. I was able to go buy that. It had never been available for many years. Casey, we've been doing these shows, since 2007 on and off? And it was only available last year, and I snatched it up. It was amazing. So FinancialFreedomRadio.com or .info. Welcome. I want to thank you all for coming and listening, and we're blessed that you're out there. I want to thank Casey Jones, our engineer, for keeping us on track and making sure everything runs smoothly. If you want to download our show, you can download it from iTunes. And I don't know what the Google or the Android part is. All I know is that we are in iTunes, and so you can get it there. The reason why we haven't had a lot of shows is I had a triple bypass, and so we had to discontinue our shows for a while. I didn't want to put the reason why, but we're now back up and running. I had it February 1st, and we're now back up and running and doing our shows. So welcome if you're picking it up. And we're sorry we just dropped the ball, but at that point, I didn't care. I wanted to get well. So we're going on the 8th week now, and things are moving along really well. So we thought we'd start these back up and keep them going. But we want to take a different tact with our shows. And the tact is that we want to focus on entrepreneurism as well as wealth creation. If you know my background, I have a doctorate in economics, and so what I look at is the world through economic models, but I've actually been focusing on entrepreneurism for many years, and I just wanted to look into it deeper because I think we're in a revolution in our country. And so you're going to hear me talking more about entrepreneurism. And the title of the show is Donald Trump, Truly an Entrepreneur? And one of the things that we focus on as an entrepreneur is understanding information. And I'll get to that in a minute. We are going through a revolution in our country. We have entrepreneurs trying to be heard, trying to get the so-called, quote, ruling class to hear what we have to say, because the people in Washington are not entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs built this country. Entrepreneurs are the backbone of this country. But the people that run this country are not entrepreneurs. And so they don't understand the entrepreneurial mentality. And I wrote an article that you can read if you go to markethive.com/Keo247. You can read it. It's about, is Donald Trump truly an entrepreneur? And this is why I say we're in a revolution with entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs. Because if you look at the debates, Donald Trump is criticized for not having a good understanding of the facts as they relate to specific areas of government. Like, what is your plan for making Mexico pay for the wall? And what is your plan for getting China to be fair in fair trade and smart trade instead of unbalanced trade, which is what's going on right now? And so he says to them, I'll tell you later. But the media and the government people, I'm calling them the ruling class. I really don't like that term, but that's the only term that seems to be thrown around out there that people understand. They want specifics. And the reason they want specifics is because they wallow around in useless information. Entrepreneurs don't care about specifics unless it relates to what they're doing at the time. Donald Trump will focus on specifics in the building community. He's an expert builder. But when it comes to other things, he doesn't need to know that information right away. But if he needs to find it, he can get somebody that knows it. He said early on that people seem to forget. The public does not want to know how I'm going to get all this done. They just want to know that I know that there's a problem and I'm going to fix it. And it reminds me of a story about Henry Ford. When Henry Ford was being sued by his board of directors right after, I think it was somewhere around World War I. And they asked him a bunch of specific questions because they said he wasn't very smart. He wasn't highly intelligent. So they put him on trial, and the lawyer put him up there, and the lawyer started asking him questions like, who is Benedict Arnold? How many soldiers did the British send over to America to put down the rebellion of 1776? Useless information. And the answer that Ford gave them, he said, Mr. Ford replied, I do not know the exact number of soldiers the British sent over, but I've heard that it was considerably larger than the ones that ever went back. That's a Trump-type answer. That's what entrepreneurs do. And finally, Mr. Ford kept getting tired of this line of questioning, and he replied in a particularly offensive manner. And to the particularly offensive question, he leaned over, pointed his finger at the young lawyer who was asking these questions, and said, young man, if I should really want to answer the foolish questions you have been asking, or any other questions you have been asking me, let me remind you that I have a row of electric buttons, push buttons, on my desk. And by pushing the right button, I can summon to my aid men who can answer any question I desire to ask concerning business to which I am devoting most of my efforts. Now, will you kindly tell me why I should clutter my mind with generalized information for the purpose of being able to answer questions when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require? The judge dismissed the case. That's an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is one that doesn't clutter their mind with useless information. When they need to know, they know who to go and get it from. But what is the media and what are all of our politicians and bureaucrats cluttering their mind with? Useless information. If you talk to anybody that's in business, they only want to know information as it relates to running their business. They don't care about anything else. They just want to know how to run their business. The knowledge they need. If you go to a university, the professors clutter their minds with generalized information. Entrepreneurs focus on specified information. I'll say that again. In universities, professors and people there focus on generalized information. Entrepreneurs and business want specific information as it relates to what they're doing. They don't care about the other stuff. And that's what we're seeing in our country today. We're seeing a revolution. We're seeing entrepreneurs saying, we got problems, because entrepreneurs are smart people. They can generally see the problem. The solutions to solve it are what they need to acquire when it's time to solve the problem. See, business people are good at identifying problems. That's why they're saying we've got problems. Politicians are not good at identifying problems because politicians are wallowing in their own self-aggrandizement and benefiting each other on the backs of the people. Folks, if you look at all the debt that's owed, it's our debt. It's your debt and my debt. All that money, that $150 billion we send to Iran, it's our money. If we have debt in this country, it's the people's debt, not the government's debt. The government runs up the debt, then turns around and goes, okay, it's not our problem because it's your debt, you pay it back. It hasn't happened yet, but it might. It's over $19 trillion and climbing at a very rapid rate. So, is Donald Trump truly an entrepreneur? You bet your backside he is. He is truly an entrepreneur. Now, what do we need running our country? We need an entrepreneur. We don't need another first-year senator, Ted Cruz. We don't need another governor because they're a bureaucrat. They can't identify problems and solutions. They're not entrepreneurs. We need the entrepreneur mentality to get in there to fix our infrastructure. Our bridges, our roads, and everything are collapsing. We need them to balance the budget. We need them to protect our borders. We need them to fix our education. We need to stop being the policeman of the world. And that's what Donald Trump has identified as an entrepreneur. But the politicians are going to discredit him. And as you know, you can tell I'm a fan of Donald Trump because I want all of this fixed in my lifetime. I want my kids and my grandkids to have the life I've had. So that's why we're going to talk about entrepreneurism going forward, because it's key to wealth building. The reason why people are having trouble building wealth, and network marketing is a fantastic business model, but the reason why you're having trouble building wealth and acquiring wealth is because the entrepreneur is working real hard being an entrepreneur, but you've got the forces in control of that entrepreneur that are negating every move they make every step of the way. So if you've got entrepreneurs trying to build a business and you've got other people external to that business trying to tear it down, it's never going to work. And you've got a problem. And what has happened is this problem has now bubbled to the surface. And the problem is that you've got non-entrepreneurs running a country that's built by entrepreneurs. Can you see the picture? You're never going to get ahead in this environment. And it's only happened over the last maybe 40 or 50 years. Because before, you had entrepreneurs stepping into government, taking the – look at Harry Truman. He was a businessman. You've got politicians that ran our government that understood the entrepreneurial mentality, the entrepreneurial spirit. Ronald Reagan understood it because he started out as an actor. He was making money, and he knew that he had to work to make money. He talked about the shining city on the hill, and he said, the last thing you want to hear from is somebody knocking on your door saying, I'm the government and I'm here to fix your problems. We all know that's not going to work. And we snicker at that statement, but we don't understand that statement further. And that statement further is that you've got non-entrepreneurs negating entrepreneurial mentality. And you've got a struggle. And finally, the entrepreneurs have had enough. And they've got their leader in the form of Donald Trump, who's saying, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm here to fix this because I can identify the problems, and when it comes time to solving the problems, I'll find the brightest minds to do it. He said that to people over and over again, but they're tuning a deaf ear to it. What are your specifics? I'm not going to tell you. Plus, an entrepreneur is never going to telegraph what they're going to do. They're not going to go tell everybody what they're going to do first. That's silly. That's not what a businessman does. He doesn't let people know what he's going to do before he does. Can you imagine Apple letting everybody know all about the iPhone before they bring it out? They would get knocked off all the time. Business people don't do it. They have high security around everything they do before they release it to the marketplace. And then once they release it to the marketplace, it's shrouded with security as far as how the things operate. Look at cars. You don't see the cars. I mean, I live down here in Naples, Florida, and I see cars driving around with canvas all over them because they're new cars and they're doing road trips. They don't want you to see what the car looks like before it comes out. That kills the whole introduction of the product. So he's not going to tell people what he's doing till it's time to do it. You don't want a world leader somewhere else that's against us knowing what we're going to do. We've already got a president that does that kind of craziness. That's insane. So back to our statement, is Donald Trump truly an entrepreneur? True entrepreneurial traits are one that are practiced in business all the time. And anyone unaware of this philosophy will never understand why business people are not specific about generalized things. And when you look at the presidential election, you can see it clear as day, where other candidates and the media, the other candidates being these bureaucrats running for this office, and the media, they're going crazy because Trump won't tell them what he's going to do. He just says, I'll find the brightest people. I'll find the George Pattons in the military. I'll find the Carl Icahns. He says that. And he won't give them specific details because he doesn't need to know right now. He's not president. He's focusing on running for president. And all he needs to know, all the people want to know is he aware of the problems? And he's rattled off all the problems in the United States today, and that he's going to fix them. And the bureaucrats say, well, how are you going to do it? Because they are focused on specific information or generalized information, and they want to know everything. Have you ever seen these talking heads on TV, and they all seem to have an opinion about everything? It's craziness. They all know everything about everything. What was the old saying, Casey? I can't remember. It was like, you think you know everything, but you really know nothing. Anyway, so I submit to you, Donald Trump is truly an entrepreneur. And when you have an entrepreneur in the White House, you will have a country that will blow your mind. You will become successful by default. It's just the way it works. We can see when Ronald Reagan was president that people were making money that you would never have thought had the capability to make money. When success is breeding throughout the United States, and it's like a disease, it's contagious. Success hits everyone. Everyone has an amazingly better life because the entrepreneur mentality is what generates wealth. It's what generates revenue. It's what generates the velocity of money and the multiplier effect, and that's a whole other discussion, in the economy. And when you have money turning over constantly, you have revenues coming in to the government to pay down debt. Then you've got somebody shrinking government looking for waste and abuse. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, folks. And you want to feel good about yourself. You want to have a wonderful life. you want to enjoy prosperity, you put an entrepreneur in the White House, and mark my words, in 4 years, you will look back and say, why didn't we do this sooner? But you put a non-entrepreneur in there, and you're going to be struggling and continuing to struggle and complaining. And it's as plain as day that if you don't, it's going to be a mess. If you do put an entrepreneur in there, you will be amazed at the results. And you'll feel good about yourself. So I want to thank you all for listening. We're going to be doing these every week. And we're going to be talking about entrepreneurism. I've talked to you about the basics of entrepreneurism, and it's one that focuses on specific information when it's time to focus on it and ignoring generalized information. And we're going to be talking about other specific things. Every week we're going to have a point that we'll touch upon that differentiates the entrepreneur from the non-entrepreneur. There's a revolution happening, and it's the entrepreneurs against the non-entrepreneurs. Who's going to win out? This is Dr. Raymond Jewell, and I want to thank you all for listening and downloading, and look forward to talking with you on our next podcast next Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Take care, and God bless you.